drop down, and you actually have to specify which model that you're going to be generating for or training for. And then you have to optimize for those 3 different types that I mentioned before. Also on the top right, you have dials that indicate the actual number of images and whether that's good or not. Minimum of 3, maximum 2000. And then we have an actual average resolution of the images that you have there. So it'll tell you if the images are not quite high resolution enough. And so once you've actually picked all of those different options, you can expand settings, and there's one item under there worth understanding, and that is steps. And so the rule is quite simple with the steps. If whatever number of images you put in as your data set, you just times that number by 20. So if you have about 50 images for that LoRa, that's about 1,000 steps, okay? And it's 2,000 is the hard cap there, okay? So if you put it at 300 to 500 steps, that's about 5 to 10 images, and 300 is a really good starting point. So if you don't want to jump into that, you can just leave that as the default. 500 to 800 steps, well, it's good for about 15 to 30 images. 800 to 1,500 is about 50 images or more. And so it's about the same for character and object, but with styles, you can really start to add a lot more. So enough of the theory. Let's show you what actually comes out of it, okay? And so we'll jump into an example of an object LoRa. But I needed one particular source of truth when I was diving into this. And in this case, it was a toy stolen from my daughter. A pineapple plushie. And so I really wanted to test this. And so this one source of truth, I knew that K2 just, I'll just keep them in shot, it's never been seen before. So K2 doesn't have any reference of this, and I needed to know that it wasn't coming from the base model. So if he shows up correctly, I know it was from the LoRa. And so this is how I was going to test whether it was going to work exactly how I wanted. So I took 119 images with my iPhone, different camera angles, front, back, top, different lenses, so sort of 0.5 and 1 and 2, just on the iPhone, nothing fancy. Different lighting conditions, okay, so different LED lighting that we have around, different backgrounds, which is also crucial, and then actually just trained it into K2 large. Okay, and you can see the results here. So along the top, we've got some of the dataset images, and then along the bottom, you can see this guy just with a few text prompts can go on a really crazy adventure. And this is the beauty of having the LoRa's, is that you don't need large verbose text prompts. And so I actually used exactly the same dataset, but I actually put it into K2 medium. And so exactly the same, 119 images. There's a really handy reuse dataset button, which I'll show you shortly. So no need to re-upload all of the assets from your machine, no waiting times. It doesn't need to recaption any of the images, and just changed it in the drop-down from K2 large to K2 medium. And as you can see, the results hold up. It's super consistent. It's got all of the stitching correct for the sort of diagrid stitching. It's fluffy as it needs to be, and you've got all of the details, the eyebrows, etc. So it's looking really, really nice. So that covers what an object LoRa can look like. So now let's actually jump in straight to character. Okay. So this person doesn't exist. This is a fully synthetic data set, okay? And so I generated 30 different images of this individual, and so the different poses, different emotions, again, different camera angles, different lighting conditions. And for this actual exercise, I changed the actual locations and like the hairstyles as well. So it was a much more varied data set. Okay, so really powerful, consistent results you see along the bottom. At the beach, nice and hot in the desert, and then some snow. And you can see just with a few prompts, adding that contextual awareness, it really does to sell it, like the sort of the cold breath leaving her mouth on the end there. So characters and objects are one thing, but style is where Doodles is really lives here. So this is a style LoRa that I put together, and so this isn't an object or a character LoRa, but this specific example is just an idea I had of merging X-ray vision, like thermal heat cameras, and something called Z depth, where it's whiter, closer to the camera, something from a rendering background. And so it's those visual styles all combined into one. And this was actually a multi-step LoRa process to get to this visual style. But then, as you can see, I've actually applied, again, the data set along the top, but I've applied that to our consistent character that we've just seen, and also our pineapple plushie. So he's really getting around, and you can see all of the insides and how it's still understanding that diagrid as like a frame and a little look inside there. So this actually brings us nicely to the question that I get more than any other, is how many images are enough images? Because this was 52 and 30 was previously for the character. And so this is a good range, okay? Between something like 20 and 150 is great, but it really does also depend on the mode or the type of LoRa that you are actually training, okay? And so this is the sweet spot. Okay, we can go all the way up to 2000, which is just here. You can add a minimum of 3, but that isn't really quite a data set, okay? And so if you're training on a character or an object, you may, if you add too many similar images, it'll cause like overfitting, and yeah, it just causes some issues there. So that's really the sweet spot, 2000 maximum, which when you're doing a style LoRa, you can really push it to put a lot more images into those there. But the number really matters far less, is what's actually inside those images. So going into more detail really about when you're doing objects and characters, the variety really is key here. So and if you do like 60 varied images beats 200 near identical ones. So if you have too many that are too similar, yeah, it will cause some problems. And so, yeah, you can see here we're getting some, I even put my hand as a shadow and actually obscure some of the features to really help the model understand what is happening and what we can do there. So, okay, so now let's really look into what breaks a data set. Okay. So duplicates or near duplicates, any watermarks or text overlays, they will cause some problems. Any mixed aesthetics in a style set, you want that style to be consistent, because if you get a few anomalies or outliers, there is a chance that when you're generating that will be pushed forward in that generation, which isn't what you want. You want nice consistent results. Inconsistent resolution, so if some of them are really low resolution screenshots and some of them are high quality 2K, 4K images, it'll have a few little problems. And if you also have the same background in every shot, so it's no good if you have an object that you want to use as the reference. If you're in a studio environment and you're getting lots and lots of photos, but it's just a white floor and a white backdrop, that'll also cause problems, okay? So you need to ensure that you are doing varied backgrounds, otherwise that white background will show up in those generations as well, and you'll actually have to pull down the strength, which isn't what you want at all. So, okay. Now, I want to do some quick testing as proof. So on the left here, still using K2 large, just using the prompt. We have the consistent LoRa of our female character we have there, but it's exactly the same model, with and without that pineapple plushie LoRa attached. Okay, so you can really see the difference that K2 just really didn't understand what it is that I wanted, and I could have gone and created a very long prompt to try and replicate it, and I did go down that route, but it just really wasn't helping. You still can't get that result, and this is why training a LoRa just becomes a lot quicker and a lot easier to get the results that you want. And so another test that I really wanted to do is, what if I use that exact same data set, but run it and run a LoRa for Flux and also 1.2.2 here. Okay, so you can see how even with the same data set and a different image model, it's still not quite there. The flux example, it's not quite fluffy enough, it's missing eyebrows, and the scale's actually all wrong. And then with 1.2.2, the proportions are wrong, and yeah, it's just not a really great image at all there. So, enough of the slides. Let's actually jump straight into a little live demo. So we're going to train one of these completely from scratch right here. Okay, so here's the KREA homepage. Okay, always have a look at the top just because we have all of the updates of what's coming and what's current and live. And for those that haven't been to KREA in a little while, do scroll down on the homepage. We have some really nice examples demonstrating the breadth of styles and imagery that K2 can generate. So you can use those to start to build mood boards, for example. But just here on the left, we'll go down to train LoRa, and this is the page where we're going to actually start to add some, and then we're going to use K2 and generate with these very, very quickly. Okay, and so you can see all of the previous LoRas that I've trained in the past, and so we'll open up one of these existing ones. So you can just click generate. So you can come from here if you know where your LoRas are and you want to dive in. You can just do it straight from here, or if you click the actual LoRa itself, it'll give you some info. Okay. So what we can do is we can actually share a LoRa from here. We can copy and paste the link, or if you've got multiple workspaces, you can actually share it there or make it public. You can hide, delete. It's got a little preview of what you can generate with that, but also if you scroll further down, it'll actually show you the existing data set and the number of images that you actually have there as well. Now, I mentioned this button earlier. This is that reuse dataset button, which is very, very useful. And so also a use LoRa button. I'll show you what happens when you click reuse dataset. It just opens up this window that you saw before. You can add more images to it. You can remove images from it. And so we've got all the options to go in and select different models here and here. And if you're going to actually pick an object, you'll also notice there are some extra settings if you scroll down that you can give it a trigger word if you wish. Not necessary or not essential, but a good option there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back and just train a whole new LoRa. So we'll go back to train new LoRa. We do have the option to train video LoRa's, so we do have our own video model that we can put in there, but we're just going to do images for now. And so I just have a few images here on the side from previous examples, so I'll just add those in. Okay, and it'll upload those as we go. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is just leave those to upload, and we can come back to those and start that off. Oh, no, okay, we're good. And so you'll notice how the dials at the top are actually changing based on what we've got. And so this is an older iteration of that style. So again, with the nice sort of X-ray, but more sort of anamorphic option here. So let's do K2 medium. This one is actually a style because it's not the same character. And then we're just going to leave it at 300 there because that's going to work quite well. And then all you have to do is click train. And there we go. That's going to sit there, and that'll take 5 to 10 minutes. So by the time we've had a look, it should be ready to go. But if we want to actually generate with this, all we have to do is click this image here. It'll take us straight to our image tool here. You can also access these in the node editor if that's what you prefer, and that's actually the sort of the workflow that you want. Okay, and so let's just say we're going to go with this mythical crystal shining dragon. These are nice examples, and just fill the prompt in for you if you want. We're going to pick the aspect ratio. We've just got the one LoRa. You can up to 5, and we can stack some of those shortly. And if you've got some mood boards, or you want a single image style transfer, you can add those over the top as well. And so I'm just going to hit generate, and K2 will produce 4 images for me. Okay, and so we'll just let those generate. It's K2 large, and so if I were to switch to medium, I have to then pick a different LoRa, so that's important there. Okay, and so we can see these results here. And I built this style LoRa so that we can add in any object. And so if I want to actually change the insides, I can say, let's put in here sort of mechanical robotic insides. Okay, and then hit generate. And so it really is as easy as that. And this is just a 1K image, which is the native output for K2. And we're getting some really nice results here, and something where we're getting a lot of consistency. Okay, and so we can add more text details, we can add more images. So let's start to stack these up here and see what we can get. Let's add some style transfer and see what happens. Because you can stack a single image style transfer, a mood board, and LoRa's all at the same time as well. So we'll just hit generate on these, play around with the strength, and so this is where we really have that creativity. We can come in here and change the strength of each of these and see these different results. So it really does give us the power to really have that creative control. And if we want to really go to town, we do have these options here where we have intensity, complexity, and movement sliders as well. So we've also got some creativity ones as well. So we'll lower the movement, and I'm really curious to see if I put that there, we increase the complexity to like 80. I'm going to put that back up to 80. We're going to pop this down back to 50 and hit go. And so let's have a look at what has been produced. So you can actually see now that I've added that single image transfer. It's starting to blur, like a radial blur around the outsides of this image. So we're really getting a lot of control here. We've got some nice scales, like X-ray, almost subsurface scattering, kind of like how light passes through thin parts of skin. And you notice as I've really been dragging down the strength of that LoRa, you can see the impact that it's actually having, and it's actually listening to the other image transfer, single image style transfer as well. So, okay, all right, and so cool. We'll answer some questions at the end. We've got some time for Q&A at the end, so thank you do please stick the rest of your questions or comments in the chat, and we will get to those at the end. Absolutely no problem at all. And so, yeah, getting some really nice results. And so let's have a look at that LoRa and see how that's doing. I mean, it's not, we'll have to refresh the page to get access to it. But I do have one I made earlier. So this is that LoRa, okay? And I'll notice if we'll keep both, and let's just run and see what we get. And you'll notice that I actually increased the complexity, and you can see how there's a lot more depth and a lot more complexity to the whole image, not just the character in this case. And so that's whether you're using a LoRa or not with these sliders here. So we've added both, and actually when you've got two LoRa's running, you really need to kind of balance out the percentages. There needs to be You'll see how it adjusts, but actually I'm going to lower one of these and say that we want maybe 40% here. Click generate. I'm going to get rid of that image reference, and then also those as well. Just sort of give us a clean look. And let's see what we get. Okay. And so because the LoRa also had all of the characters were all fitting within the frame. You'll notice how that's what it's actually trying to do here. It's doing a really good job of trying to make it sort of kids' toy, anthropomorphic, or just childlike proportions, and actually trying to scale that to fit that in. And that's without us changing the prompt at all. Okay, and so here we are where we're seeing the difference now, and it's managing to keep some of that. We've got still some nice cyan in there, and it's actually picking up the mechanical features with that sort of heat vision as well. So yeah, some really nice results. This is looking really clean, and actually really want to animate that guy. So from here as well, you can go straight to the edit mode. So you can go around and paint certain items out. So for example, we don't need this second tail, so we could just highlight that and just click remove with one of the image editing models. But these are looking really nice. And then you can also send straight to the video model, You can get 4 different variations of this image, or you can do a nice quick upscale. Okay, and so actually, yeah, let's do that. So we'll do 4 variations of this guy. We'll also favorite it, so when we go to our assets, it's also pre-filtered, and then we can click upscale from here. And I'll just show you what this looks like from this case. Okay, and so if we don't want a mythical crystal shining dragon, we can just change this to something like penguin. Okay, and that really is the beauty of the LoRa, is you can come in and change some very small individual text prompts to completely change the subject. So changing one word completely changes the subject nicely there. Okay, so we've got a quick upscaled version, which is looking really nice, and we've got some real like shelled layers. It got some really nice 3D depth and almost like flame effects on the end of the tail there. Very nice. And then these are the 4 variations here of that one image that we quite liked. So it's changing the eyes a little bit. Yeah, cool. All right, and then the LoRa, yeah, completely finished training. We can go here and have a little look at that. So that's that data set that we've got there. Okay. So, what do we just look at? We had a quick 10-minute look at training a LoRa. We were stacking them up, and we see that the same technique holds across those different frames. So now, Matt, if you're available, you're very welcome to share your screen. We'll hand it over to you to dive into a bit more about how Doodles is using LoRa's.
I think it's, here we go. Let me share my screen here. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Christian, for having me up. Very much appreciate it. And thanks for showing us how to train LoRa. It's pretty cool to watch the process happen in real time. But my name is Matt. I go by Doodlifts. It's my tag online. With the Doodles team. I'm the director of ecosystem and growth. But yeah, really excited to talk about kind of the intersection between Doodles and KREA and our partnership here. Because Doodles is an internet native brand. It's a cartoon brand. It's a lot of things, but we're leaning in really heavily into AI, and I think that KREA has quickly become the kind of creative engine, the nucleus at the middle of Doodles. And I'm going to show a couple of really cool things that we've been doing with it, so people can kind of see what it looks like for a real brand to use a custom trained LoRa kind of at the core of their brand. This here is just a kind of a super cut of some of the animations that we've done. Doodles is famous for its, still cartoons and animations. We had a short film premiere at Toronto International Film Festival, so this is something we're very well versed in. And this is just some of the kind of awe-inspiring or jaw-dropping stuff that we've been able to achieve with a combination of our custom trained LoRa at KREA and video models like Cdance. So this is something interesting that a lot of people don't kind of know about Doodles or training, LoRa's based on cartoons. In our experience, a lot of models have been trained on photorealistic things, on 3D things like that. But 2D cartoons are kind of this black hole of image models. And so, in ours in particular, I'm going to get into this. Our style is hard. It's seemingly super simple, but it is incredibly formulaic. And if something's off, it's like we have the uncanny valley to the maximum here at Doodles. If something's off, you immediately know it's not Doodles, and we can't use it in our content and anything like that. So I'll show a little bit about what I mean by that. So much to the point that we wrote a book called The Field Guide, so that our community and the artists on our team could have a definitive kind of brand Bible and what it means to draw a doodle. Some of the examples of that is our floating eye. This is it's funny enough, is one of the things that had us trying many models, many instances. It's something seemingly so simple that this, at a 3/4 view, the eye floats off the body, completely confounds most models that are out there. I know it sounds simple, but this is our signature. It's very important to us. And so in order to get this particular aspect right, it's incredibly important. And there's many other kind of versions of this and facial expressions. And as you see, the floating eye makes its appearance in all of those. We have a core color palette with our distinct Doodles colors. Is one of the many other things people recognize about our brand. And so we needed a model that, like it says, is visually literate. Like I said, we tested all these models, and none of them could quite get it just right. You know, we've been experimenting, trying, growing with different things, and KREA has been by far the best by leap and bounds that we found so far. Some examples coming out of the model here, some social content that appeared. I mean, it's one of the things that we've noted about the LoRa from KREA is that it almost seems to be intuitive, right? As is it it does something. There's an X factor to the Doodles art style that's almost indescribable, despite it being formulaic. In K2 and our Laura really seems to nail that. Everyone who sees it is just awestruck. So one of the other things that we make a really important point of is being in the conversations that's happening. Doodles is a brand born of the internet. We're on social media. We like to participate in different conversations, metas, cultural moments as they're happening. And in the past, we had an animation studio with many, many, many artists. And, there's just a reality to being, if you want to kind of participate in the conversation, and we had this happen many times, something would be happening on the internet. We all know how fast the internet moves. By the time we could get an asset onto social media, it was, if we were moving at a breakneck speed, 24 hours, usually 48 hours, maybe even a week if we're talking animation. And this just isn't moving at the speed of culture. And so I want to show a few examples here of how KREA has enabled us to be able to kind of participate in the conversation and move at the speed of culture. And so one example here, if you look to the left, is one of our partners, Solana Blockchain. It was during the World Cup. They came to us. It was, sometime in the morning. They said, "Oh, we have a post going out about the World Cup. Can we get some Doodles artwork out?" Right? And traditionally, this would have been almost a non-starter. We would have said yes, but it would have taken a long time. But we were able to kind of huddle up as a team, get an asset together, and get something really impressive that made it on social media. Got 100,000 impressions for one of our partners, and we were really excited to be able to participate in that moment. To the right here, something just kind of different strokes is part of our community. We gather every week and kind of share learnings about some of the latest AI tools. We call them creator sessions. And we were kind of all jamming on this idea of this concept of fractured fairy tales, right? We were talking about Robin Hood and things like that. And one of the things that I came up with was Princess and the Pea. And, Doodles has many themes in its brand: playful cynicism, mortality, kind of some adult themes. And so I was like, how would we take the Doodles spin on Princess and the Pea? And so I was able to come up with this concept, take it to KREA, make this draft, and it was on our social media page in an hour after that, which was just, if anyone works here in creative, that's just impossible to produce assets of this quality that are so true to our brand. So it's really changed the way that we participate online. Not only can it produce these really expressive animations, but something simple that might not read as I'm trying to think of the word is eluding me, but it's very simple and interesting, right? This is a funny thing. It's on brand for us. But it's minimal but impactful. And KREA is able to, we have this motif now that's emerged through using KREA of this wizard frog. And so he's appeared in many of our different pieces of social content, and KREA is enabled to empower that. Okay, I want to tee this up before I go back, actually. So that's how KREA has helped us really change how we show up on social media, change the way that we make content. It's become this kind of creative nucleus. But one of the things that we're most excited about, and we're really giving a preview here for a lot of people that they haven't seen today, is how it's not only changing the way that we appear on social media, create content, think about these things, but we're actually building our next product that's going to be released shortly with KREA at the creative nucleus of it. And I'll show you what I mean. It's called the Toy Factory, and it's going to be coming out shortly. So this is a first look for a lot of people. So definitely, I'm excited to share. So the Doodles Toy Factory will be coming out shortly. What it enables people to do is collect everything, is what we're calling it. And so you can take photos of yourself, your family, your pets, whatever it may be, and you can turn that into a real physical collectible that you can hold in your hand. And KREA sits at the center of that, and I'll show you what I mean. So some examples here of how this works. So we'll show you a couple examples here of some people. Some of these are not real people, like we said before. Some are some creators that we're working with for our launch. So we take that full body image, then we have a custom node pipeline centered around our LoRa, and then that creates the version of that person in the Doodle style. Then we take that to another pipeline with another production partner who's able to print and fulfill that, and that gets delivered directly to someone's home. So now we're seeing kind of something we really think is revolutionary. It's AI creating real products, and it's just I don't think anyone's been able to quote unquote hold an AI asset in their hands up until now. So we really are excited about what we're doing here. So a few more examples of this, and KREA allows us to create really expressive character assets here. People are able to express themselves, collect everything like we said. It's just, we're really, really excited about the results. Some other examples here of some characters are created here, and yeah, just so happy about it. But we really think it's an entirely new product category, and KREA is sitting at the center of that. So yeah, that for me, I'm super excited. Our custom trained LoRa, like I said, has changed the way that we approach content, changed the way that we show up on social media at speed and scale. And it's also unlocked entirely new product verticals that haven't existed until this point. And Doodles is getting to kind of lead the way. In physical toys, it's just going to be the first kind of appearance of this. It really has unlocked a lot of other different stuff. But excited to be a partner with KREA here and show you guys some of the stuff that we're working on. So Christian, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely incredible to see.
But
So, okay, right, let's have a little recap then. Some takeaways. So, what we've looked at, the sweet spot, 20 to 150 varied images. If you're doing characters and object data sets, vary the angle, lighting, framing, and backgrounds for those data sets. And then for style, have one aesthetic consistently throughout of those. Steps are essentially the number of images times 20, up to 2000. Trigger word, you can actually apply that if you're doing the object LoRa's, and then you can stack those different styles as well. And go ahead and train some, test them, see what you like, generate more assets to then go back and retrain those. Okay, and so yeah, you can tonight, if you wish, go and train that and go ahead and go for free. So you scan that QR code or click the link in the chat that I've just posted there. That will actually take you straight to the KREA Train page. Okay, and so if you have an enterprise license, it's entirely free. If you don't have an enterprise account, there is currently a 67% off deal at the moment. But also, if you do send us a message at sales@krea.ai, we'll be able to set you up with some compute units for you to go ahead and actually do some training and try that yourselves. Okay, and so yeah, let's have a look at the questions then. So what we can do is just jump to the Q&A. Okay, Carmen's been answering questions there, which is fantastic. All right, let's have a little look. So I can pop this one up here. So you can absolutely use KREA through Claude and through MCP. So really easy to set up as well. We do have a little PDF guide for that, and we've got some more content coming up soon for that. And then, can you train a LoRa on a pair of glasses? Yes, you can, but definitely it's good to use and create data sets of things that you own. Absolutely. So yeah, absolutely stick with that. And then yes, the recording it'll absolutely be available, and we'll also be uploading it to our YouTube channel as well. And then in terms of max upscale resolution, we can go up to 22K straight out of the gate, but you can do it in sections. So you can, and depending on the upscale model that you're using, some are different and some are better for different use cases. And so if it's realistic, you can try Magnific Precise, for example. If you want something creative, there's other options as well. So we bring in multiple models for you to be able to use that to upload. And then are users able to download trained LoRa files from KREA? So at the moment, no, but you already have that data set. So that is completely there and fine. Okay, and then, yeah, any more questions? Keep them coming. Okay. elaborate on the differences between the LoRa, mood board, and style. Yes. So I'm going to mention those in reverse. Okay. So the style transfer, you only use one image. It'll only extract the style from one particular image. Okay. And so you won't be able to get as much consistency all the way through. Okay. So with styles, you may want different highlights in different locations. So you might want all of the white highlights on a metallic item to actually have that large bloom, for example. And so if you're using one image transfer, the bloom's always going to stay in one particular location. Okay, and then keep that one up. And so with a mood board, it allows you to upload multiple images. So you can have 3, 10, 15, 20 different images all within a mood board. And so this is when you're starting to actually lock the style a bit more, and you can use that instead of a style LoRa just for very quick testing and to see what you want to actually produce there. And so it's increasing in complexity as I'm going up that list, but also the amount of images that are needed to actually build that. And then with the LoRa, you get the ultimate control across multiple generations. And so if you're creating a short film or you're creating storyboards and you want that one character to be the same in each shot, and it's consistent, and they may have certain features that you want to keep consistent through all of those frames, then you can absolutely use the character LoRa there. So definitely recommend that as the main workflow. I hope that answers your question. Okay, when making LoRa, how does it scale? So cars, for example. And so when you're actually adding the LoRa's, you can actually add scale references in there as well. And so you can actually change that in the prompt as well if you want a bit more control over the scale. But you can absolutely use those references there as well. So when I did this guy, he actually had some objects in the background. We've got some items around it as well that actually gave the model a bit more context as well. So if you're doing a toy car, do a toy car. Absolutely, steal the method. Children's toys, really great starting example for that, just to get going. But if you're doing a full scale car, it'll have objects around it like a curb or a drain or something like that in the background, and that actually really does help with the scale and the training of the LoRa. Is the LoRa available to use via API or only from your platforms? You can access the LoRa via our API if you're going down that route and you want to use it that way, but you can't download it. And you can't use it on other platforms. So once you've trained a LoRa within KREA, it stays within KREA and you can use it there nice and easily that way. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Okay, nothing else. All right then, guys. So yeah, I don't have any other questions for Matt, but thank you very much, Matt, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Great insight. I'm very excited. It looks incredible. I've got a series of 3D printed, and my shelf is full of these kinds of things. So I'm definitely going to be jumping in and having a look once it's available. So okay.
Yeah, we might have to reimagine your pineapple in the doodle style.
Absolutely. That's the first thing, and I'm getting it, and we'll get it made, and we'll do a little comparison. So, absolutely. Okay. All right. One more chat. Yep. Okay. We can share the deck, and the recording will also be on YouTube as well. So, yeah, really not a problem. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your time, guys. Reach out if you've got any other further questions. Okay. Thank you very much. See you next time.